Howdy folks, and welcome to my channel. Today I bring you some quick thoughts I had on Superman, the 2025 version. Gotta make that distinction clear. Unlike my usual reviews, this is a bit more of a stream of consciousness. Basically, I'm just gonna ramble for a few minutes on what I liked about the film and what I thought could have used some more improvement. Be warned that there might be a few slight spoilers, but nothing too major. To start, I just want to say that the story of Superman 2025 felt far more different than what you see in your usual comic book films. It begins right in the middle of an ongoing incident between Supes and the Big Bad. It skips over the usual scenes of Krypton exploding and baby Clark being raised by his Earth parents. And I'm honestly glad to see that they did that, because I think we didn't really need those scenes. This is Superman. Anyone who's at least a bit familiar with the character already knows this song and dance. It reminded me a bit of the opening to Guardians of the Galaxy 2, starting in the middle of an exciting fight scene with a giant monster. I guess Gunn must be a fan of dropping us into an ongoing conflict just to get us to pay attention, huh? As for the overall story, I saw it as more like a week in the life of Superman. There's big monsters, world-ending threats, and a psychopathic madman out to kill our hero. And yet along the way he shows different facets to his character, because ultimately, I think this movie is about who Superman is. It isn't about making big, sweeping changes to the status quo. It's not about planting as many seeds as possible for future installments in a cinematic universe. Well, I mean, it probably has some of that, but it wasn't the focal point, I don't think. It was about showing us who Clark Kent is. In many superhero films, I often found myself not really caring about the protagonist all that much, because we usually don't see a lot of struggle. Superman struggles in this film. Not just physically, but emotionally too. He strives to do good, even when it would be so easy for him to not. He could let a giant monster step on a squirrel. He could let a building smash a single car. But he doesn't. Small moments and touches go into establishing who Clark is. Clark is kind, but maybe a bit naive at times. He can act immature, but he still has emotional intelligence. What I'm trying to say is, this version of Superman is a flawed individual. He's human, to put it simply. If he can see a way to end a conflict non-violently, he'll try to go with that option. I'll just say that a fight against a certain kaiju as shown in the trailers really encapsulates what Superman is all about, especially when compared with other heroes. In fact, speaking of other heroes and characters in general, I don't think there was a single character that I hated in this entire film. Now, some were more memorable than others, but no one did a bad job in this film. I think the only two characters that I would have liked to see more background on were the Engineer and Ultraman. But at the end of the day, I guess not everyone needs to be fleshed out if that makes the overall experience more cohesive. Speaking of cohesive, the pacing of this film was something that I had some problems with. Remember when I mentioned that we were dropped right in the middle of an ongoing event? The same can be said for the world building of this film in general. Characters and concepts are introduced first, and elaborated upon lightly later. I think a big example would be the character of Mr. Terrific. We're just introduced to him and the other two superheroes during the middle of a scene. Not much is elaborated upon with who they are besides who they work for, and the fact that they already know Superman. As for Mr. Terrific, we just know that he's a hero who uses gadgets at first. As the film goes on, you don't learn much about him that's directly stated. You kind of have to piece together that he's some sort of super genius who may also have a bit of an ego, but who also has a center of goodness to him. This can prove frustrating to audience members who like to have everything spoon-fed to them. You know, have the character spout a Wikipedia article's length of exposition about a character so that we don't have to think much about them later. And at first I guess I was confused, like, you mean Gunn decided that instead of just telling us everything about a character all at once, we're meant to actually watch and pay attention to the film? Why, that's borderline blasphemy. But going back to pacing, it still very much feels like Gunn was trying to introduce so much and just kept running out of room to extrapolate it all. Again, mentioning the Engineer and Ultraman, those two kinda got the shaft a bit. Which is a shame because I'd especially like to know more about the Engineer. The same can be said for the Daily Planet staff, as we're introduced to a bunch of them, but are given little time to really know who they are. Hopefully, we'll get some sort of Daily Planet spin-off show so that we can get to know them more. I think I'd like that. I enjoy consuming content. Moving on, I think this film has one of the strongest antagonists I've seen in quite a while. And by strong, I mean he carries a large presence. That's right, it's Lex Luthor. God, what do I even say about the guy? He just loves being evil. Or rather, I'm sure in his case he sees himself as the one who's in the right since he's, a sociopathic, narcissistic, maniacal madman who has an unhealthy obsession with killing Superman. Every scene he's in is just so captivating to see because you'll see him be so petty that it's comical in one moment, and then see him do something so shocking and disturbing in another. In a way, he's a little bit all over the place, but I think that just makes dissecting his character all the more fun. Next, I want to touch upon the action in this film. Because hey, you gotta have some punching going on in your superhero flick. I would actually say that the action was the least engaging part for me, as I was far more interested in the smaller character-driven scenes and moments. That isn't to say that the action was bad, mind you. They do some really creative things with Superman's abilities in this film. But I guess I was just more into seeing how this version of Clark acted, I can safely say that he snaps no necks in this film and that he doesn't personally destroy an entire city. Unlike a certain other version, this one tries to do as much good as possible and is considerate of the effects his powers have. Finally, I just want to talk about the score of this film. I think a score is great when it can work hand in hand with the visuals on a screen to elicit a pure emotional response. For me, the music of this film was an absolute masterclass in how you score a movie. The emotional beats, the guitar riffs, the classical John Williams theme, and even a little bit of punk rock all work together to provide the backdrop to some truly powerful shots and scenes. James Gunn has been the only filmmaker to consistently make me cry 3 times with his comic book films. The first was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, then 3, and now Superman. This film is filled with so many different emotional moments that I don't want to spoil any of them. Just know that good directing mixed with a great soundtrack encapsulates why I still love going to the movies and watching superhero films in general. So overall, would I recommend Superman? Again, the 2025 version, I mean. And my answer would be yes. It's an incredibly strong character piece that's full of charm and emotional moments that feel sincere in their execution. The pacing of the film may throw some people off, but just stick with it, and I'm sure you'll walk out of the theater feeling rewarded for your time seeing it. I know I was. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest takeaway is that being kind in a world that sees kindness as being old-fashioned is the most punk rock thing you can do. So be kind to one another, and do some good when you get the chance. Just like Superman.